Good plan.
Listen, we've got it. You have you two got any questions?
I'm struggling just a little bit sometimes reading the difference between a 4 hour structure and the 15.
Yeah.
Sometimes can look a little bit
Yeah.
similar.
Yes, mate. So it's a good place to start. I mean, I also fall for this sometimes as well, so it's possibly one of them that's always going to be a bit of a
Yeah.
stumbling block almost. But sort of a general rule I would say, mate, is that I mean, hit all this here on GU is a great example, I think, to be fair. So I'm happy with all like this structure here as the 4 hour. I'll just turn it brighter. I'm always concerned that you can't see it clear. So I'll tell you, what, I'll go on the 8 hour just so you can see more candles. I'm relatively happy with this sort of structure here, and then we start getting a bit of ifs and buts, let's say, around this last sort of swing. So this pullback here, let me circle it in a blue or something, because I mean that's a fucking mess in it. So this leg here being the pullback, possibly uh turn it blue. So it does meet the rules for a 4 hour pullback. It could just be a 15-minute pullback as well, based on it meets the rules because it comes below this high here. So obviously the previous structure is obviously we have a low, we put in the high, we pull back pretty much 95 odd percent roughly, definitely 90% pullback of obviously this leg here. Then obviously it takes the high and then it pulls back. So because it pulls below this, like I say, it technically doesn't meet the rules for a pullback, but we then start getting kind of just being taken. So this, like I said, this could be a 15-minute, and the overall structure could be from there to here,
To the
you know?
top, yeah.
Yeah. So I do think it's always going to be one of them things that is a little bit of a stumbling block or questionable.
I blurred lines a little.
Yeah. But we've just got to like try and do our best. So, I mean, if this now goes and makes a new high, then which I think it won't really matter as such, if that makes sense. Obviously, it's going to catch us out if we try to take a trade from here, which it looks like I'm trying to. Then if it's not the right pullback on the 4 hour, then obviously the 4 hour is going to do. Let me delete that. It might do from there. It might come and pull back lower, which means that then this was just a 15-minute, and now it's if it comes this low, it's broken the 15, and the 4 hours we would adjust the 4 hour to suit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So always it's always a risk. It's just I suppose technically the way we would kind of I'm just trying to word this right. So there is obviously ways we could maybe try and eliminate that becoming a danger to us, and that would be a case as if we see, say, some liquidity. If there was a trend line, there might even be some, to be fair. If there was a trend line there, let's say, I know it's not exact, but let's use our imagination. If that was perfect free touches, and then there was an order block live here that had taken it. I know it's been taken by this and then gets swept. But let me try and find a better example of that because
I
that
know
would
what you're saying there. I get it just to that, mate.
yeah. Well, I know. Let's use this one here. Actually, this is maybe a better example, a bit lower. So, I know we've actually got a trend line here as well. This order block here, I'll highlight it as well, just as a, and I'll turn it red. That order block's possibly responsible for What the fuck was that? Sorry, it's got to pop up. Yeah, that this might be responsible for this trend line liquidity being taken and say this high or whatever. Now it's possibly this one that I've already got marked, but if it was this one, we would then make if it was definitely open, we was really confident that that was this low one was the one, then there's a good chance that that is wrong because we think, oh, it's definitely going to come back for that before it then goes for a new overall high. So I do think it's going a touch higher overall before it starts its major move down. So I know we're sort of about what I believe the British pound is going to be for a long time. Now, obviously, this is only it's all speculation, but you know, if we was confident that that needed taking, we could then maybe,
Yeah,
you know, use a bit of liquidity and market knowledge that we've acquired to then go, actually, I think it'll come back for that, and then go for the
of
high
course.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just to say. I mean, the only confirmations we ever look for, mate, is obviously structure, liquidity, and imbalance. Really, that's generally always the answer. It's just how you would formulate the question to get to that answer, kind of thing. So yeah, obviously, if there's liquidity and an order block that's not been
yeah, good luck.
mitigated, you
Yeah,
could then use that to try and justify going, this is a bit of a riskier trade. Now, I would always advise still taking, say, something like this anyway, because obviously it's not guaranteed to come lower first either. So, but you just try and make the the odds ever in your favor. So, or the probabilities, sorry. So, you would maybe still catch a great trade from this before it comes lower anyway.
yeah,
So, but yeah, it's. I mean, it's worth also maybe adding in another rule for structure. So, I mean, I don't know if you've read the rules. They're pinned in the S&D chat. So there's four or five in there rules. There's there's no reason why you couldn't add your own to them rules. Their rules are just rules I've made up and they've saved me very well. But that doesn't mean that if we let me draw my box. Hello. Oh, my back. My back. Can you hear me, guys?
yeah.
Oh, sweet. So yeah, sorry about that. My internet just disappeared and I have no idea why.
When you were saying it was worth more, it's worth doing something.
Yeah, fucking forgot what I was saying. What the fuck was it?
You're
Uh,
talking about it not being guaranteed to follow your structure, but
yeah, I
yeah.
was I was on Summit, but I can't remember what it was now.
To do with the 15-minute structure, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, I know I was saying obviously if this a setup comes here anyway, I would advise taking something anyway because obviously even if it's a small move for us, it's still a decent risk to reward
yeah.
kind of trade. Obviously, you'd maybe just kind of allow for it. Um, but yeah, obviously, oh yeah, no, sorry, it was the rules, wasn't it? Sorry. Yeah, so the rules are posted in the S&D pin set in the S&D chat, but in the pin. So there's four or five rules. Can't remember off the top of my head now, but
I've got them. I printed them out yesterday.
yeah. So they're like I say, I made them rules. They've saved me very well. They're good enough for me. But there's no reason why you maybe couldn't add another like your own rules if you was to say test structure yourself and if you'd noticed something slightly different and gone, well, if I was in the middle of this drawing this box. Has that gone again? No. That my
There you
menu
go.
went. So now my menu went, that's all, so I shit my pants. So if we draw this box from this high to that low and that's we're happy with that's at least a structure. Um it's pulled back. It hasn't quite pulled back 50%. Maybe that's a rule you want to add rather than lower than the previous high. So I'm generally happy with it coming below this high on the basis on the on the theory that, let me just turn that red and thicker. So something below this line, so this high gets taken with this price action here, these sort of candles here. But the idea is that something below it is where the order went in from, let's say HSBC, that said, no, we're taking the high and price is coming back to mitigate whatever that was. Now, obviously, our job's to find out which area and zone that is that we think it is, which order block. So you could just go, no, I'm not happy with just going below that. It's taken it, but not by loads. Maybe 25% ish. It's taken that high by, and it's not pulled back 50. So you could change them slightly. You might go at least 50% pullback of the whole range or dip below. And then obviously on the switch side of that, you could then go, well, if you was happy with it just dipping below there, you maybe want the next leg to extend a certain percentage beyond that high. So I'm trying not to confuse anybody with
Yeah, I
this,
get what you mean, though.
but like from that high to that high is looking like a high. Well, that might be a 10% increase on the whole of this leg. So maybe you'd say 10% extra is not enough for me to class that as, although that is a bit of a pullback, you might then go, I'm not happy that that 10% is enough to justify a new 4 hour leg. But it's how I would say you would do that is you would have to go and test that yourself because I haven't,
Yeah.
so I've got my rules. I'm happy with kind of guessing at this sort of stage. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I'll just readjust the structure if it takes that or whatever, and then pulls back into this, and you'll get the idea, I guess. But if it does, if it does
You know
do,
that measurement tool you're using there, the 50%, where'd you find that on?
it's the GAN
Any view
box. Yeah, it's the
GAN
GAN
box?
box. Yeah. So if you look can you see the sign menu on there on your
Yeah.
screen? It's in one of these. It might be this one, and then you will have to. No, it's not that one. Let's give you that one in it where the GAN box is. So this barrier, and
Yeah.
then it's just obviously I'm on the PC. It'll be different on phone, but and then there's a GAN box here. Obviously,
Legend.
click your favorites. Uh, Let me just, and then obviously you can change your setting as well. So if you go into the settings, you can click your percentages. Obviously, I've got the obviously 0, 1, 25, 50, and 75. Obviously, you can add any percentage you want, but these are just obviously
Very
I
much.
split up into the four basically, and just said that this middle section's a bit of a danger area. I would say at least maybe do maybe at least split it into 5 sections so you could have like the middle section as a red, so 50's maybe a bit dangerous, but the extra 20% either side of that's amber, and the two extremes are a green maybe. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I always say that the top and bottom 25% is that if you get the structure right, these are where you're going to be your major bangers are going to come from. But there's, like I say, there's no official rule that this isn't the low either. So that would mean that like a 45% retracement is possibly a banger and the right move. It's just the reason I say that is, like I say, this if you take that trade from there or here where I'm maybe trying to, it might lose because there's a lot under this still
On
that it might,
lower, yeah.
yeah. So it's just you reduce risk. If it comes down and fills, I suppose the best way to word it is if it comes down for the lowest imbalance in this leg here and shows you signs, you kind of 50-50 whether that's going to be the new bottom of the market. It's either going to stay bullish or it's not,
Yeah.
Whereas if you take it from up here, they might react from an imbalance, it might come lower, then react from an imbalance, and then you might take 10 chances from the 50% area. So it's probably the best way to word it, I
Yeah.
think. So yeah, I'd test look into the structure, mate, and just see if like maybe you want an extra 30% extra on the leg to justify it as a new 4 hour rather than just being a 15, but I've got this marked as a 4. So if you did as well, like I would say you're about right, and it's just one of them things that
Yeah,
we'll adjust if it changes, you know. And also we could the other way, obviously the other one of the rules for structure is, well, it's not written in the rules, sorry, it is something I say on most lives is that the 15 makes up the 4 hour, and we get what I would class as 2 decent 15-minute bearish swings. So that kind of does tell us that that is the 4 hour pullback before then a new high is taken. So, that kind of tells us it is the 4 hour, at least justifies it for now. So there's that to consider as well. But obviously you need to make sure
I
that
guess.
you need to make sure in this 15 that you can get a decent 1 minute structure as well. Now we're on the 8 hour and it looks like I've got a 1 minute drawing in all this. I don't know if you can see that, but all these little dots will
Yeah,
be.
briefly.
So if you can't make a decent one, then chances are that what you would mark as the 15 is the one kind of thing, because you kind of need to be making the 3 structures to
Match.
match it and justify the overall structures as such. But it's like I say, it's technically all just a guide in a way, It's just a real decent guide. But in trading, nothing's perfect, so it's it is what it is, isn't it? I'll just show you what I'm kind of looking at on this as well. Now, it's not guaranteed to win, obviously, we all know this, but I am pretty much trying to buy from this. Although this might look like it needs to go lower still, actually. And we have got a trend line here, so maybe don't buy. Yeah, that's not been taken. Yeah, I've got that marked up anyway. So, like I said, I don't think that's hit anything. We'll check that in a minute anyway. But obviously, this red POI looks to be have taken the 4 hour high. So the start of the move, the overall move pulls back, taps into something in this. Obviously, that took that as well. So good POI, takes the 4 hour high, comes back. We get a 15-minute break to the upside, and we're maybe in the stage of coming back, and we've maybe broke the 1 minute low. And hopefully this week is going to come and tag one of these 3. But check this, because that looks like it might want to come lower. We'll check it now anyway, but obviously I'm saying to check it because you'd need to get in the habit of checking it yourselves anyway. Yeah, so I'll tell you to do it and then we will look at it. Well, sorry, just before I bar replay that actually. Say I've got a couple of zones up here marked. I think they'll get blown through now anyway because I do think we are going higher. And if you look at these markings that I've got previously, I'm adamant it's going to this imbalance, filling this zone before it starts its overall decline. But the actual decline in the way it's going. So we've got this big structure. I think we've covered it on the last couple of weeks' lives. Like I said, this is why I think we're at the pretty much the peak of the market. I do think we're coming a touch higher before I think that we're going to continue this purple structure, new lower low. Also, we've got low, lower low, lower low. So peak, peak sort of area for major sells and a new overall low for GU. So, but then this is one of the reasons why I think the pound is at its high for now, and it's going to over the next however long that is, it'll decline or whatever. Say if it does it in that time. I don't even know how many days that is. I don't even say. So that'll be cool.
28.
Yeah, well, it'll be 29, 30-ish at least, won't it?
Mm.
You know, I've I think to the date here is 2 years, around about here. So it comes down at that projection there. It's 2 years. It's quite a steepish fall, but we've had steeper falls. So just in time for the next election, it seems. But yeah, I think it's not just GU as well that I think it's showing on. I think it's the majority of GBP pairs are possibly showing that we are at the high, basically. So obviously GJ is the same. I mean, this is pretty much just about identical. So we've got high, low, lower high, lower low. We're in this top 25% of this again. G, I haven't checked this one, but it looks about not quite as good. But we've got a high, low, high, not high, lower high. We've had a lower low. So, this has maybe got a lot to come up before it comes down, but major higher time frames showing that we could mitigate this and sell off. Obviously, it could do it from there. GA is slightly different. Could be in the middle of going up or down. That could be either way, but on this one here. Now this and GA are about the same. And obviously I've marked a structure going on, and we're at the top of this sort of structure. Would be seeing huge sell-off. And I mean, it looks like it started anyway. Like, look at this candle here. Now I think this is going to take this low, and then that's the 4 hour saying bearish. And then CHF is about the same. Well, I mean, this is all pretty much at the all-time low as it is, but that's huge pound weakness against the CHF. So that's all them GBP pairs in decline. And then we've got EU, which is making bullish structures. Now, obviously, GBP is the second pair in that, so this going up means pound weakness. So same again if this is going up overall, just check that because that looks like it's tagged an entry. Oh yeah, it did, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was the but it's spread out on it. Now, if that's still live, did we cover this last week? Sorry.
New one on spread area, did you? When I watched the live back.
Yeah. See this
Has Luke got that one as well, I think.
yes, he has, yeah. Yeah. I imagine we've all got it now, especially if this is the right entry and not this. See this little wick downs.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm uncertain about it, but if it's not, then it's obviously I think it's that. Obviously it's not guaranteed, but what is. But yeah, if it is the one, then it's potential major moves. If that's the new low there, started breaking slight highs. Like I said, the new move would be to take this high.
Beast that.
Yeah, 182 Irish off the current entry. Now I've got a tight entry on it. I got 1.5 pip, so maybe give it a touch more if you're not comfortable with that. But obviously, the point I was trying to say is I think GBP is going to start its major decline. I'll get back to GU. Because I think that. How fun is that I'm telling us about GBP weakness, but I'm trying to buy it, it seems. But like I said, I do think it's maybe going to touch higher before it goes lower. So I was checking this, had tapped into what I was happy with in there. So let's get back to that. I didn't cover this last week, did I? Sorry, by the way.
No, I don't recall it, no. Unsure.
Monday. That would have been after last week's live there. I don't know. If I did, I apologize, but uh, so it's tapped into that, which is just after spread hour. I think I checked all this before, to be I must have. Well, normally not. So when it's tapped into whatever this is, it's after spread hour. It looks manipulated. That is spread hour there. So it's just if it might want to come lower still, but whatever's gone on in here. Yeah, something definitely happened in this. I have no idea what's gone on in that, but it's mitigated whatever it's possibly come to mitigate whatever it's wanted to in this manipulation or world disastrous event or whatever. And then it's closer. 15. So mitigated possibly something there, and then it's taken the most relevant lower time frame high here, and obviously I believe is a good push from here. There'll be imbalances in there, so possibly one of them two, if not a touch lower. Uh, so obviously the real good push from there. A little bit and maybe something just below. Now you could probably tighten these up maybe. Now these are quite big zones actually for me. 4 pips. That might be the biggest entry I've taken in a long time. Don't know what's it on. So 3.4. So they are big zones for me. Um, but that is what it is. I mean, I'd leave them big anyway because it might come for this tiny little bit of imbalance here. So it would be one of them where it might react. It might literally tap this imbalance being filled perfectly and go. It might come deep into it for this. So it's similar with this. There's a couple of well, there's that there. It might come for that, but it might also just fill that. So it's kind of one of them. Could be either. So I would generally leave it a little bit bigger on this occasion. What have I got marked down here? And again, we've got a couple like pop. Just spotted that as well. That's a good little push there. I like that one. Not as keen on this one. And then there's maybe that. Um, Maybe this at the very bottom as well. But you kind of get the idea anyway. There's a couple of good looking little areas. Obviously it's broken the lower time frame high. So it is a possibility, every single one of them. Now obviously there's a possible trend line here as well. $9.20, $3.25, $4.05. And I'm pretty sure this looks like a good bang on. Yeah, see, that's a good trend line. Apart from, I'll just check this here. Sorry. So at the minute, I'm not, because we're on, of obviously it's a 5 minute, so I would consider this all one push. Maybe that would be a low there because it's lower than the wick next to it, but this needs checking on a minute to make sure it's like
Legit.
right. I think I'm all right with that. It's below the wick, below it. So I think that does technically count as a wick low. Like I say, the rest are perfect from that point anyway. So I mean, there's not loads of perfect trend lines in the market anyway. So the fact that it's made a good one. Now that would indicate that the reason why I'm checking that is because if price is going to come below, so if it's gonna price is unlikely now to react from these two higher zones. Yeah, because if price takes its time, well, not even takes time. If it takes its time, these two or three little areas below here are going to get wiped out as well. Now, this is what I mean when I say that we use liquidity to try and basically tell us where the market's going. So, if say market opens in an hour and it starts flying down on this trajectory, if it reaches say that this sort of area before Thursday, could do it Thursday, Friday morning. If it gets down here by near these entries by Friday morning, it's gone. Oh, hang on, do that purely on the basis that if we think it wants to pass beyond liquidity now, obviously it's extended here, so the longer this takes to get down, the more I'd be convinced. Well, I'd delete anything off here. I'd just go no, it's a no trade for me because the liquidity is showing me what would wants to go down, and then it would likely come for one of these imbalances here, and then I would wait for the 1 minute break to the upside again. So this is why it would be important to make sure that they're check the liquidity. Obviously, spotting it's not always easy, but if you do spot it, it is a good way to use it to maybe save your losses. Now, if that wasn't a perfect trend line, I would definitely be taking these or picking one of the entries and taking it. But obviously, because I have spotted it, these two higher zones now are a no-go. Now, obviously, I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks nearly, it seems now. So after it broke there, if it had come back straight away, that would have been ideal. But like I say, it's showing us that it's at least coming
Take
below
that.
it for now. Um, that's GU. Is there any questions on that, by the way?
No, that was good. That do you know your liquidity?
Yes.
Is it stronger on say your 4 hour 15? Did you work it from say your four, then go down and down and down to what?
So the only thing I'm looking for, mate, is a good quality trend line. So like the three touches we looked at was really spot on. So when you're on the 4 hour, so if you mark something on the 4 hour, I'll see if I can find a good example. I mean, so I'll do it from this high here to. I won't make a trend line, but I'll put it on a couple
Yeah.
of highs just so you can show you, right? So I marked this on the 4 hour. So when you mark it on the four and then you change to say the five, the now it's stuck on the wick high there and the wick highs. When you change to the 5 minute, it might not be stuck on the wick high. It might have shifted it over slightly because it does it from the start of the 4 hour. As you see here, it's now off, but it's at the same horizontal
Fine.
level, but it's not on the right time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I always come down to like say I'll mark them on whatever time frame, like I say the 4 hour or 2 hour or 15 minutes or whatever. I always try and drop down to say the 5 and make sure that they're on the wicks at that point. And as you can see, that both of them was not on the stuck on. So obviously this was
Yeah.
it was about there. So if you just marked on the 4 and that it looked perfect on the 4, but when you come lower, it looks like absolute nothing like. So just try and drop as low as you can to try and make sure that they are where they should be.
Sound.
Um, yeah, yeah, the lower you can get. Now, obviously, you always want it to be as bang on as you can, though. That's just as important as well, mate. Because so obviously, how when I started, like obviously, I'm the only person that makes sure that they're bang on. Now, I don't mean that like Matt and everyone else in the group doesn't do it, but we all do it because I like did it, you know. So
Yeah.
it became my rules, and the reason for that is because is if you if we pick, say, a trend line that's slightly out, let's see if there's any. I mean, they're all generally pretty good. Now, that one's just a touch short. So this is a good example here. Um, this one's short. Now, you could say that I must have marked this and then forgot to delete it because that was terrible. Now, if I presented this trend line to you and said, "Is this a trend line?" You know, you'd go in, well, it's fairly close, so but that shows that there's uncertainty because it's not perfect. Whereas, and it's the same obviously the other way. If this middle touch was slightly past, you'd be like, well, it could be, it couldn't be. But the reason why I obviously want them to be perfect, I'm going to delete that now anyway, just so I don't get confused by it. Um, if it's perfect, you know it's trend line liquidity. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's either a yes or a no, then, isn't it?
yeah, it either is or it isn't. So and and it also means that because there's not many perfect trend lines in the market anyway, I best delete that as well. So don't think that that's anything I don't want it to be. Yeah, so we like all these here, when they're perfect, you just know. So you're not guessing. So then you're not taking trades that you maybe shouldn't be taking, you know. So if you're only taking A plus setups, then even if you lose, you're not bothered because you just go, well, sometimes we lose. But
Yeah.
if you're taking losses where you're going, oh, I was unsure about that anyway, and then it can start to spiral, and you go, does this even fucking work? Or so it's just if we can reduce as much guesswork and ifs and buts and put the possibilities and probabilities in our own favor, then you do end up with perfect trend lines and perfect equal highs and lows and real good quality imbalances, So it just that means that you end up with a better, I say better, I'm going to say better because I think it's better, a better strategy. And then because of that, you become a better trader. So, and then when you become a better trader, you start making more money, and you just
Did
grow.
you know when your liquidity say sat on the bottom? Are you looking for buys in particular or sells in particular? Like, or is it when it's at top?
Right. So this is a good question, mate. So what I often say is what I say about liquidity is all we can guarantee about liquidity is that price wants to go past it. Yeah. So it comes below, it takes the liquidity with this wick here, these wicks
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Now it doesn't mean buys or sells. So like that kind of goes, well, what does it mean then? So what I would say from that is what price does after liquidity is taken is the direction we should be trading. So, and then that sort of takes us back a little bit to structure. So in this in this sort of area here, if I was taking a trade from here, so we've got a trend line liquidity, we know price wants to pass beyond it. Let me just bar replay, sorry. Right, so if we're price is there, if we've got this trend line marked, we know that price just wants to pass beyond that line. We don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it's coming probably fairly soon if it was there. So I'll take us to the point in which it's taken. We'll not count that one. I'll do the next one there. Right. So we know it's definitely taken now. So now, from what I just said, we don't know where it's going still from here because all we know it's going to pass beyond it, which it's done. So what it does next is what's going to tell us. And if we look at these structures up to that, we kind of get there's a bit of a high there. We put in a low. We pull back slightly, put in a slightly lower low. We've pulled back again, not taken this high, and then we put a new slightly lower low in again. So what we do from there is we would go, if we know the rules of structure, we would say if that high gets taken, I'm thinking buys. If it doesn't get taken, and then it retakes the low, I would want it to pull back into an entry zone up in here. Yeah, so
Yeah, sound.
I'll draw out at this point. So I'll draw out both what I think both possibilities are at this point, and then obviously as it plays out, I'll
Insane.
try. I'll see. So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if this is the low, but let's assume it's there or thereabouts. Yeah, because I don't know how much further down it come or not. So if it takes that high, it's going to do this. Yeah, and then make a new high. So if it takes high, then we would pick an entry zone in somewhere in down here. Yeah. If
Yeah.
it's so do that. The other option is I'll turn the color different once I've done. So if it does that, if it doesn't take the high and then retakes the low, I'm expecting it to then come and mitigate something in this. Yeah. And then sell off. So what it does afterwards, obviously between this high and low, that's the what it does next confirms the direction. Yeah. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
so I'm assuming that's the low for now. If it not, I'll move it along. Speed that up as well, actually. Right, so we're in this at the minute. We're in the sort of area that. Sorry, I should turn that color blue actually, because we've got a difference. Now you could, if we are thinking cells and we are starting to make even lower time frame structures, yeah, yeah, I'll draw them as well. So get a high, low, just about a high. I don't know if that's going to be a new low or not. It might come back a bit more, but it might do something like that. Yeah. If it does this other smaller structure, now obviously these are quite big structures on the screen at the minute, but we get the smaller ones make up the
Bigger
time
ones.
frames above. So if it comes up to it into like this, now obviously we could mark the lower time frame imbalances. I'm not going to do that on this occasion because it's more about the confirmations as such. Um, if it comes up to here and then takes a low that it's maybe about to put in, then I would say that would be your fair signal that. So if it did that, let's say, we would then get a lower time frame pullback, and then we would continue this structure, you know. So yeah, the lower time frame on the way up should be watched if we was watching it live now, you would be watching this and waiting for a lower time frame than this green structure. Probably that there. Maybe that. Maybe that. As long as that's not spread out. So obviously this is possibly the low that puts in on that lower time frame structure. We've had maybe a lower time frame break, which would then mean maybe that becomes our entry, something like that. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I would always advise checking the imbalances in all this. So, because this is a low structure, so it's minimal, and it might still come higher if there's an imbalance in there. But like I said, I'm not going to check it. But it looks like I was right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we've just covered. Now, obviously, people will watch this back, so I'm talking to them as well. That probably needs watching 2 or 3 times, I think, because I think that was a really good bit of analysis.
Example. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good, nice example. But like I say, I'll redraw the lower time frame structure, and I'll say the whole point again. So we've got liquidity built up. That's one. We've had that. We get a lower time frame structure that's showing us bearish up to the point liquidity is taken. It doesn't take the high after the liquidity is taken, which means we are still thinking bearish overall. But we don't know that until we get an even smaller break to the downside in the top area of that last structure. Yeah. And then obviously the break was under here, the lower time frame break. I'm going to delete this structure because that obviously that was a possibility at this point here. The structure leading up to that top sort of 25-ish, 30, 40%. Um, as I say, so we get a low, high, low, high, 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 low. Gets retaken there. If that takes that high. Is that right? I think I might have fucked up here. I might have fucked up. Got it right anyway. I was counting this, I think, on that, and then that one just breaks it there. That's your first break anyway. Lower time frame break. These are could even count that one maybe, but that's not right. Anyway, we get a break under here, and that's a fair signal. When we get a decent imbalance created down there. You know, now obviously that entry zone would have needed looking on an even lower time frame. You'd maybe get it smaller on the 10-second. But the fact that it didn't take this high, and then we started to see on an even lower structure that it was showing us we are possibly turning bearish again. And then obviously from there it's gone. So that is what I mean by what it does after it takes liquidity is what it does after that is what tells us the direction. Because like I say, liquidity being swept doesn't mean reverse, it doesn't mean continuation. The structures that tell us afterwards is the direction we are trying to trade in.
Mega.
All right, mate.
Yeah, mega. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. I think that was probably a big move, to be fair. Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially if you oh now we're on the talking bigger stuff, but especially if we are anticipated price to come down to like these sort of zones anyway, like say if you'd have caught that trade from there, I don't know what entry size it would have been, but that one miss. I'll add a bit more on just to be safe. I mean, I don't do 10 pip stop losses, but let's say if you did have a 10 pip stop loss to that low, we're still talking 23 hours, is that? You know, but
Delta.
like I say, I can guarantee that I wouldn't have taken a 10 pip stop loss trade, so I'm sure it'd have been able to get less. Take a quick look, see what the actual thing would have been. No reason why we can't. Look at that at the top of that. So, yeah, big push from this little order block here. Obviously, there's possibly some there, but some along them lines. And GU spreads quite tight, so I mean that's a pip and a half zone. So even if you went 2.5, let's say 3, to go 3, I'd be 2.5. I think 2, maybe 2.5. Catch that down to the orange zone that I had marked, where it's gone to 75. You know, we would all would all take that, mate. But like I
Yeah,
say,
so
like if you've got that imbalance there, as seen on the 2 hour, you'd be well within your rights to say that you think it is going to head there, assuming you've had like the confirmations further up kind of thing as well. But it's generally all like I say, this is what I mean when I say we use structure, imbalance, and liquidity. I think that's I don't want to say it's all we use but I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all we use. Structure, imbalance, liquidity, man. That's you've just like say the hard part is me and Matt argue about this every couple of months. I say it's easy, and it is, but getting it right in the process and then fully understanding it's not easy to get there if that makes sense.
yeah.
But everything I just explained on that a previous one, you'd be able to watch that back and go, yeah, that makes loads of sense, and then you'll maybe leave the live, wake up tomorrow and go, I fucking forgot what he
Fuck.
meant. Yeah.
Like in school all over that.
Hmm. Yeah, but that's why obviously we do the lives, mate. So that's why I said people should maybe watch that back a few times because obviously you're just trying to get it to sink in so it becomes second nature, and then you can obviously I mean I'm huge on back testing anyway, so I try and even still now I still try and sit down on a Saturday morning and look through all the charts. I mean I don't get through all of them by any stretch anymore, but like I often say if you can't do that, what we've just covered in backtest, you certainly don't stand a chance in doing it live because doing it live is hard. You need to make sure in old data that the system works in old data. So you need to basically figure out a bit what you're doing. You would then go, obviously, if I give you a set of rules right now and said, do like there's 7 rules to be met, go look in the old candles and go, does this fit anywhere? You'd mark it up, obviously look through it, bar replay it and all that sort of jazz, and then you go, yes, when I do it, when I see that then 10 confirmations all work 8 out of 10 times, it goes and you win X amount of R back or whatever that is. And then obviously you would familiarize yourself with, like I say, in bar replay, and and so you can, because you're not always going to open a chart, and when you open TradingView, the start of the move's not always going to be there, kind of thing. So you kind of need to bar replay it in random places and go, well, if I see these. Obviously, as I keep saying, 10 confirmations, whether you've got more or less, but I'll say 10 for example. You might open the screen and go, well, here's 5 of the 10, but we still might get the next 5 confirmations. So the, from the 10 that I would say you would look for, if you're halfway through them, you need to spot it when you're halfway through, and then keep your eye on that to then see if you get
Catch it, like,
the catch the
yeah.
trade. So you kind of working yourself to be able to spot it in the old data. Then you've got to start working yourself to spotting it live or in a live market situation. So, like, obviously, that might come from, like, say, you just look at it, look at it, and then you start seeing, oh, I've got so many confirmations. You might turn around and go, oh, what might you turn around and do? I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say
Yeah.
now.
Just start adding up then, can't done it?
Yeah, you're just training your eyes to be able to spot a potential setup at any stage of its setup of its span kind of thing, So and that's
Mega.
and then before you know it, mate, you're making money and it's becoming easy kind of thing. So But
That's
yeah,
the aim, mate. That's the aim, innit?
yeah. I mean, like I say, it's not easy, but it is kind of thing, and you know, but you'll always make mistakes anyway. I still do. Like I say, I would have if it weren't for this liquidity, I'd probably take these. I don't think it's going to play out now because of liquidity, but it meets the rules as such. It's just
Risky.
yeah, just it's a bit riskier now, you know. So, but that's experience. I might not have seen the liquidity, which means I might have taken a silly loss that I probably shouldn't have. But my eyes are trained to liquidity, so I'm giving myself the best chance to not get caught out. But the market's always going to try and catch you out anyway, you know, as well. So, but yeah, old data will show you old. Looking through old data is the cheapest way to do it. And I know some people just jump onto like live accounts and go, oh, it's only, I don't know, let's say it's a 50 grand prop firm account. Like you can, I'd advise you become consistent on demo first and then start bringing monetary value, real monetary value into it. Because at least if you are going to risk your own capital, at least you kind of know what you should be doing properly as well.
Yeah, it's a big world out there, innit? Take
It
it
is.
easy.
Yeah, 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 it will swallow it up, mate. If you give it half chance, it will. So yeah, be sensible.
Mega, mate. Thank you.
No worries, guys.
Yeah.
Right, I'll call it there, guys. If there's any questions, all right, I'll just give us a shout and I'll speak to you all
Thank you, chaps.
in a week. Cheers,
Nice one,
guys.
mate. Bye.
Cheers, guys.